Is that better, Paul? You got some sound now, hopefully. It comes on with no sound. When I reboot the computer, it comes on with no sound. Because YouTube is so resource heavy, it crashes my computer. And there is a problem with it. Now, yeah, we're on, it says. Yeah, we're on. Right. Right, as I was saying before I got so rudely interrupted by the crapness that is Google, and they truly are absolutely shite, Google are. I'm gradually getting rid of everything Google, as I said last week. Getting rid of everything. I'm even going to dump my Android phone and get a Linux phone. The way we do these live streams is we use a piece of software called Open Broadcaster Studio. We do not use the studio that is built into YouTube, what they call the YouTube Studio, because the studio that is built into YouTube is absolutely diabolical. It's too resource heavy. It assumes that everybody has got really fast internet. It assumes that everybody has got a top of the notch £2,000 worth computer with fancy graphics cards and all that stuff in it. This computer that I do this on, there are components in this computer that are at least 20 years old, getting on for 30 years old. You know, so it's certainly not got a graphics card in it. It's just the motherboard, and that's it. I changed the motherboard in it about 4 or 5 years ago to put a more up-to-date motherboard in it, and that's it. So all the rest of it, things like the power supply in it, are 20 odd years old. The keyboard is certainly 20 odd years old. So basically, the YouTube Studio doesn't work because I haven't got the resource, I haven't got the bandwidth to deal with all this stuff in the cloud, right? Which the YouTube Studio is. So we use this thing called OBS Studio, Open Broadcaster Software Studio. And the version I'm using is 23.1.0, and I'm running it on a Linux operating system, on Linux Mint 17.1. And until a couple of weeks ago, you have a thing called a stream key, and that's like a key that YouTube give you, and you put it into OBS, and when you click to go live to start streaming, OBS contacts YouTube and says there's an incoming stream, here's the stream key, and it automatically puts it on my web page. That's worked forever, so I don't actually have to touch YouTube, okay? That's worked forever. Starting last week, it doesn't work. If you start streaming and you don't open a YouTube window now, it doesn't stream anymore. It will show you that you're streaming in OBS. You'll get the little green thing in the bottom of OBS to say your stream is live and that, but YouTube doesn't actually transmit it. And what you have to do, you have to go into YouTube's crap studio, what they call YouTube Studio, and all you have to do is open it, look for your stream there. If you can see your stream there in the monitor window there, you're fine, you're good to go. But the trouble is, when I open that, my computer is then doing so much, it crashes, because it can't handle it. And the bandwidth can't handle it. And YouTube then says, you're not sending enough data down the line. I can't send any more data down the line. I ain't got no more bandwidth. I'm wasting half my bandwidth on YouTube Studio, which I don't need. But now YouTube's insisting you have YouTube Studio open. So that's how crap YouTube is, and that's why I really can't use YouTube for much longer. So what I have to do, I have to go into it, open YouTube Studio now, look for myself in YouTube Studio, and immediately close it again. If you immediately close it again, I've closed it now, and it's now transmitting. But that's how crap YouTube has become. But because I have less than 1,000 subscribers and I don't make YouTube any money, YouTube don't give a toss, basically. because all YouTube care about are the big people with 10 million plus subscribers. That's all YouTube cares about at the minute, because all I am is an inconvenience to them. That's all any of the little creators are. The people who made YouTube, people like me, I've been on YouTube over 10 years. People who made it, like me and that, they don't care about us anymore. They only want big people, they only want television networks and stuff like that. I'm an inconvenience because they have to give me bandwidth to do this stream, you see, so they'd rather be rid of me. Well, I've got news for them, they'll be rid of me. But the trouble is, there's no viable competition to it. If somebody came out with a viable competitor to YouTube, millions of people would be there like a shot. But there is no viable competitor. There's library for videos. You can't do live streaming on library. There's library for videos. But to be honest, the platform's not very good. You know, it takes ages and ages and ages to load a video. It just needs something. Don't want any fancy ways of working like library works on the bit chain and that. Don't want all those fancy ways of working. Well, just want something that is a complete copy of YouTube and just works like YouTube did 10 years ago. I want a 10-year-old version of YouTube before they messed with it and all this HD and 3D and all that crap. Just want a 10-year-old version of YouTube, you know, that just does standard def video. Because I can only go in I'm going in 720p at the minute. That's the absolute most I can manage at up to 20 frames a second. Because I just can't manage any more than that. And the CPU in my computer at the minute is running at 66.6%. Dominic says he's heard that BitChute is apparently good for videos. Yeah, but I don't think it does live, Dominic. See, BitChute works on the bit chain. It's distributed. If you remember Napster and things for music, where you used to download your music files and get a bit from that person's computer and a bit from that person's computer and a bit from that person's computer and download it all. Well, BitChute works in a similar way using BitTorrent, and that's how library works as well, in theory, lbry.com. But the trouble is, it takes so long to download stuff and that. And you can't do live because it doesn't work for live, because distributed like that doesn't work for live streaming. For live streaming you have to be using a server somewhere. Somebody has just said, oh, Dominic said Twitch might be an option. Yeah, but Twitch is just all gamers on it, and you never build any viewers or anything on Twitch. You can't build any viewers, it's all gamers. Nobody's interested in anything that's not gaming on Twitch. Otherwise I would try the platform. I would try it. So I don't know what we are going to do, because at the end of the day I need to make money out of this stream. We're not doing Patreon anymore. If Paul's around. You're around, Paul. Hello, who supports us on Patreon. Basically we're going to stop all the Patreon stuff because I think it's not worth it, and I get so fed up. Two things that really wind me up about YouTube at the moment, other than the fact it doesn't work, when I'm just watching it now as a viewer like you guys are now, there's two things that really wind me up about it. One is people whinging on about Patreon. Oh, be a patron all the bloody time. Be a patron. How about you give us some content before you ask us to be a patron? Right, and then the number of adverts at the minute is phenomenal, because all those people who've put stuff on YouTube for the last 10-15 years, however long it's been happening, all of a sudden, if they've got over 1,000 subscribers, YouTube the other week said, we are going to monetize all your videos. Even if monetization is switched off, we are going to switch it on by default. So they switched it on people's back catalogue of videos. Now some people have got like 10,000 videos on YouTube, some of the big boys. They switched the monetization on by default, and YouTube puts the ads where YouTube wants to put the ads, and they're putting so many ads in now, it's ridiculous. There's an ad like every 45 seconds on some of the things. So about a week ago, for the first time ever, I installed an ad blocker on my computer. and I now block all YouTube's ads, so I don't see any YouTube ads anymore. And it also works with the in-video ads as well, you know, like the ad breaks where you can, the skippable ads and that, I don't see them anymore. And I will tell you what the ad blocker is, if I can get to it. Where is it? Because I'm sure you'd like to know what the ad blocker is and install it yourself. It works really, really well. ABP AdBlock Plus. It's called. Yeah, it's called AdBlock Plus, and it's a kind of a thing for Firefox, a browser add-on for Firefox, because I use the Firefox browser, and AdBlock Plus. So when I go into YouTube on Firefox, it blocks it, and you can get it for Firefox on your phone as well, and you can block it on your phone. So don't use the YouTube app on your phone. Use YouTube through Firefox or something on your phone and run that ad blocker, and then you don't see any of the ads. So yeah, so basically YouTube is really, really, really pissing me off at the moment, as you can probably see. Paul says he would happily continue paying to watch the adverts and their specialist content. Yeah, but the thing about it is though, Paul, what you pay, I see very little of it with Patreon. This is the thing. This is the thing about Patreon. Unless you've got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patrons, unless you are somebody like Techmoan is a good example here in the UK, you actually see very, very little of the money. Because Patreon takes a cut, and Patreon now takes a bigger cut than it used to. It's changed recently, but there are a lot of people out there who have kind of made YouTube their day-to-day job, shall we say. I don't see how you can do that, really. I certainly can't make it a day-to-day job. Like I say, I've been on YouTube for longer than most people, and trying to build up a following. And at the minute, there are 11 people watching this stream. And yet, if I was to point a camera at a cat sat asleep in front of a fire for 12 hours, there'd be something like 40 million people watching it. So yeah, don't even go there. Yeah, so we're looking for another platform basically, but the way we do it, to answer Stuart's original question, the way we do it at the minute is we stream it through YouTube, and this is where we're looking for a different platform. But YouTube is now not playing nicely with OBS Studio. Because like I say, you used to have this stream key, you put that into OBS Studio, you then just opened up OBS Studio, press stream, and then because the OBS Studio knew the stream key, that could then upload directly to YouTube, and then it goes out on the stream through YouTube. Now, YouTube, it uploads to YouTube, but YouTube holds it. It doesn't broadcast the stream out until you open this goddamn awful YouTube Studio, which you have to open and close again very quickly. Otherwise, it uses up all the resources on your computer, and your computer crashes. So the problem is YouTube. If you can get something other than YouTube, then you're laughing. Fat Hobbit says, get your dog Pippa to set up a channel, Andy. If lots of people watch a cat sat in front of the fire, maybe you should get Pippa in front of the camera. Maybe I should. Yes, Fat Hobbit, that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Paul says, stuff the cats, we'll stick with the telephone. Sometimes I think the cats are stuffed, but there you go. Yeah. So anyway, this before I started out on this rant, I was trying to explain for Stuart, who's wanting to start doing something like this, how it all works. So I'm going to try and see if I can share my desktop. Right, let's have a little look. Right, no, I don't want Windows Capture. I want to remove that. Remove the Windows Capture off there. Yeah, and I want to add that. That's done it. Right, so hopefully now I can show you what we have up here in OBS. So if I now do that, right, you can now see on there what I see in OBS. So this is Open Broadcaster Studio. This is for Stuart who wants to start doing something like this. Now you can do it in a mode where you just have like one window at the top. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse on this. Can you see the mouse? Yes, I think you can, can't you? Right. So the mouse is now over my face, and I'm just doing this so I can see where the mouse has gone. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, right. You can see my mouse. So just confirm you can see my mouse. Right. So I can get rid of that. So this is what I see in OBS when I'm doing the show. The left-hand thing that you're looking at, the left-hand window that you're looking at, is the preview window. It says at the top here, preview. And the right-hand window is the program window. Now this is how television companies have their galleries set up. So you get whatever you want, whatever you're going to cut to on your next scene in the preview window. So let's say, for instance, I want the website address. So on here, this list here is a list of things called scenes in OBS. Now these can be a live camera, like that's the camera on the desktop, that's the camera on my face. They're the two live cameras, which are just webcams. Or you can have other scenes set up that can be like caption cards, and you see all these different ones that we've got, and all sorts of stuff. But that's not actually going out. That's just in preview at the moment. Now. So you can see all sorts of stuff like that. They're the stills from Christopher 2000 that he sent in the other day. And if I want to put that to air, I press transition there, and it goes onto the other side, and that has now gone to air. And because that's now gone to air, you can now see that full screen. Yeah. So if I want to put my desktop to air again, I press transition again, which you can't see, and it's now put my desktop to air, and you can see Chris's phone is back in the preview window over here. Here it is in the preview window, and you can see my entire desktop in the program window. But if I put something out of preview into program, then you won't see my desktop anymore, obviously, because that is one of the things that's on here, that's on preview, you see. So if I transition now, nothing will happen, because it's the same thing going across. So that's how we do it. That's how we do all the cutting between the desk and me and the stills with things like the web address on and stuff like that, and the starting slates, as we call them. You can do these things called slug tickers as well, which crawl across the bottom of the screen like that, and then you can add all these things together if you want. So if I wanted to do, now this is where it's going to get complicated now. If I wanted to do a scene, let's say scene 2 there, that we want to do, I've cleared the sources out of scene 2. So if I want to add in now, let's say I want to add in my camera. Oh no, that's the wrong thing I've done. If I want to add in my camera, we look for, not VLC video source, it is video capture device there, and there's 3 video capture devices there. And top one, we'll add the top one into this scene, and that, as you can now see, is the desktop, my desktop. And I normally cut the bottom edge off this to make it 16:9, because it's a 4:3 camera. So what I normally do is, if I can remember how to do it, that's it. I normally cut the bottom edge off that to make it sort of 16:9 image like that. That's what you normally get there. And then we can make that smaller if we want, and then I can add another one in if I really want to. So I can then go and make another video capture source, add existing, add tone, that'll be my face. So I can make that one smaller as well, make that one a bit bigger now if I want. Yeah. Do it the way around so that it goes up over there like that. So that goes over there, and then if I want to put in a background on that, I just go image on there, add existing background on there, and then I'll put that on the bottom underlaid. So then I have 3 like that, and then if I transition that to air, you will then see a picture that is 2 things like that. That's actually quite good, that. Why don't I do that on a regular basis? Probably because I think the computer's going to crash if I try and do clever things like that. So that's what you can do with Open Broadcaster software. It does fall apart if you try and use more than 2 or 3 cameras, because it's just too much for the computer to handle. If you had a very fast sort of gaming PC or something, then you might then get away with it. If you had a fast gaming PC, you might be able to manage it. But when your computer is not a fast gaming PC, it doesn't do it. Dominic says, I like the background. It reminds me of the 70s Pie Records label. Did Pi Records have that background in the 70s? Did they? It's actually not. You see, some sort of can sort of come up as well. You can have more red or more blue as well. All that is just an image. That background thing is just an image that we throw on there. Made in a thing called GIMP, the GMU Image Manipulation Program. The system that I use here is a thing called Linux. Like I say, we don't use anything Windows. There's nothing Windows, there's nothing Microsoft about any of these broadcasts that I do. This computer, I say, it's a computer built out of bits, and I've never paid for a piece of software in my life because I'm tight. It's very much done on a budget, and we just do it basically as well as we can. But that gives you some idea of the sort of things that you can do, and if you want to add another image into that scene there, you can then go on there and you can click on image, and I might be talking about converting a 706 for instance, so I can then grab a 706 thing there like that, and I can perhaps put that down there or something like that, or I can get rid of that up there and I can then put the 706 thing up there instead, like so, and make it, I should be able to make it bigger and smaller as well. So that is basically how you do it all in OBS. I say Open Broadcaster Software, or Open Broadcaster Studio, Open Broadcaster Software Studio, or Studio Software or something like that. It's OBS Studio anyway, is the thing. And that's how we do it. That's how we do the broadcast. And it is on, like I say, it is on a Bitzer computer, a Bitzer desktop computer that does this. So I'm switching now. You see, it's very difficult to speak and switch at the same time. That's really difficult. But yeah, it's all done on a desktop computer that is a real mismatch of parts. And that, as I say, there's things like power supplies and the case and that, and the fans in it that are probably 20 years old, or getting on for 20 years old, and the keyboard as well is getting on for 20 years old. It had a new motherboard in it a few years ago, because obviously the motherboard is a thing, the CPU, and you need to update that every now and again. But I don't see a reason to update bits you don't need to update, so that's why we use this desktop computer. It's relatively quiet. The fans are quite good in it, are quite quiet, so we don't have problems with fan noise and that on it. But the cameras that we use are basically 720p webcams. You don't want anything more than 720p because your computer wouldn't be able to handle processing it, and that, you know, the more pixels you've got in the image, the more computing power you've got to have to crunch it. And when you want to do things like these fancy picture in picture things like that, you've got like 3 720p images there. You've got the background, you've got the little picture, and you've got the big picture, and your computer's got to process all those in the fly to make them the right size for the stream that you're doing. So it's quite tricky, shall we say, to do that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, you can do all sorts. So that is Open Broadcaster Studio. If you want to know the settings that I'm using for it, I will show you some of the settings. This page here is the general settings. So it says language is English, the theme is default, open stats dialog on startup, that's not ticked, none of these are ticked. Then you get to the source alignment, snapping is enabled, snap sensitivity is 10, system tray is enabled, nothing on the preview, studio mode it says here. Show preview program labels, so they're the little labels that say what the two little boxes are. Multi-view, click to switch between scenes, show scene names, draw safe areas, and that's all that's in general. The one to watch is stream. This is the interesting one. These are greyed out at the minute. I can't change these. This is because we're actually on air. Oh, I just realised you can't see these. You can't see these because they're popping up in a separate box. Right, hang on. Yeah, because it's not streaming the whole desktop. It's only streaming one window. No, bummer. I don't know how I can show you those. Because it's only streaming one window, it's not streaming the whole desktop. So that is a bit of a devil, really. I'll have to make a video about it and use a screen catch thing and make a video about it. But basically it is streaming at a very, very slow rate, and this is why YouTube doesn't like it. It is streaming at a bit rate of 650. And the video is 20 frames a second, and the resolution is 1280 by 720. Sample rate is 44.1 kilohertz on the audio, so it's quite high quality audio, believe it or not. It's just the fact that the audio is coming through the cameras that makes it not very good. But yeah, the bit rate is quite low. And that's why YouTube doesn't like it. But at least it's not crashed the computer again. Why it crashes occasionally, I do not know. Some weeks I get through a whole thing without it crashing. Other times it crashes continuously. Like I say, it's done it once tonight. I have no idea why it does it. So that's the thing. Right, back to the telephones. Dominic says there was an induction coil for Bellset 25s on sale for about £20 somewhere, if you're interested, Andy. I bought the whole Bellsets for less than £20. Remember I'm from Derbyshire. It's close to Yorkshire. I'm tight. Yes. There have been some for sale on eBay and that. Paul says there was a genuine Bellset 25 on eBay last week. Yeah, well, to be honest though, eBay stuff fetches a ridiculous amount of money on eBay these days. I think the problem is there are so many people now restoring old telephones as a business, or trying to do it as a business, should I say, and selling them. I mean, there are people restoring phones, people like restoring 706s and selling them for like 150 quid. And they've used a load of reproduction parts on them. There's hardly anything original about them at all. And they'll sell them for like 150 quid, something like that. Now, to my mind, that's balmy. Because, you know, you put a new case on, you've put a new a new handset on, you've put a new cord on, and that. You maybe put one of these pulse to tone converter things inside it so it doesn't even work in the same way anymore. Who wants to pay that? For that you might as well just go out and buy one of these crappy phones from Gmark or somebody, if you want a new phone like that. So all the ones that I restore, as you've seen on the channel before, when I restore a phone, I use all the original parts if I possibly can, and if the case is broken or anything like that, I will repair the case. You know, out comes the acetone slurry and that, and the ABS slurry with the acetone in, and I repair it, because I think originality is very, very important. But some of these restorers don't care about originality. That's why you get things like pink 706s and stuff out there that shouldn't exist, but of course they do, because people are still making the cases, and it's okay if that's what you want, but it's not what I do. But it is pushing up the prices, because now people are paying silly money for things and that. I mean, when somebody comes to me and says, "What will you give me for this 706 or 746 or something like that?" I turn around to them and say a tenner. Whether it's working or not, I say a tenner. Because I'm not interested in whether it's working or not. If it's not working, I'll get it working. If it is working, okay, but I'm not really bothered. So, but I very rarely will pay more than a £10 note for one, because anything more than that is just silly. I was selling restored ones for about £45–50. You know, and that was reasonable, I thought, but it's just gone ridiculous now, and there's so many people doing it now. I mean, good luck to them, good luck to the people who are doing it, but you just can't get the bargains off eBay anymore, because when they're selling the phones for £150, they are willing to pay maybe £30 or £40 for a phone that doesn't work, for for a basket case. So you can't get them at a reasonable price anymore. It's more and more difficult to. I used to go and buy like 10 phones for about 70 quid or something like that. You know, you go and collect them, and they'd be in a big box that somebody had them in their shed for years and years or something like that. But it's getting more and more difficult to do that now. Paul says there is also a seller that has a huge collection of BA machine screws for phones on eBay. If I weren't in the process of moving house, I'd have bought them myself. Yeah. I'm having problems with screws at the minute. Trying to get screws for something else at the minute. When I'm not doing this, I repair Braille writing machines to help a friend of mine out who runs a business repairing these machines. And what they call Perkins machines. They're made in America, and they are mechanical, like mechanical typewriters, but they type in Braille, so blind people can read it. And he's got a little business repairing these machines, and I help him out occasionally when he gets swamped and stuff like that. And we've been trying to get screws and that, and of course in America things are still imperial and that. And you can go onto their website that make these machines in America. You buy one little tiny screw. Something, and it's about 75p, and by the time you've shipped it to the UK and paid all the taxes on it, this screw's about £3, this little tiny screw. So I think, well, surely somebody must have got some screws the same size as that in the UK, or somebody must be able to make. Where do they make screws? Who makes screws and things? So yeah, but when people are selling like one screw or two screws for 50p and things like that, I think that's ridiculous. Screws should be sold by weight, not by number. You know, you go to if you can find these days a decent hardware shop or a decent hardware store or somebody selling screws, they get a big scoopy thing and into the big bag of screws and weigh it out, and you've got like a quarter of screws there, and wrap them up like sweets and give them to you. Who counts screws out? Blimey. Dominic says he was lucky that nobody bid on that 232, so he got it for a reasonable price. Even then it was around about the £45 mark. Yeah, that's not bad though for a 232, Dominic. These days, I mean, you can easily sell them for 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 quid. And you'll see your restored ones going for well over 200. It's absolutely bonkers. It really is absolutely bonkers. You won't catch me buying them at that price, I'll tell you. But 45 quid, yeah, that's not bad. I bought a couple last year that I think were 20 quid each, that came from Hunstanton. I had to go to Hunstanton to fetch them. But the cases on them were cracked. One of them is the one that I've just shown you. This one. But if you look very, very closely at it at the back, I don't know if you can see it in the light, there is a big crack across the back of that case. Can you see that? There is a massive, great big crack across the back of it. The beauty of Bakelite is, if you use the watery super glue, that's not the sticky stuff, the watery super glue, the best super glue that I've ever found is actually the stuff you get from the pound shop, the cheap stuff from the pound shop, where you get about 3 or 4 tubes for £1 in a little bottle like that. I've come back on. I've switched to Streamlabs to do this now. Apparently it's working on Streamlabs. That's amazing that Streamlabs still works. But yeah, what I was saying was about this. If you get this super glue from the pound shop, this type of super glue from the pound shop, then if it's a clean break in the Bakelite, you can do things with it. You can make it work. So it's pretty good. So that's why I got those cheap, because there are big cracks. And now I've switched to this, perhaps actually I can turn the camera around and I can show you the cracks in it. Right, I don't know if you can. How do you focus your camera when you're in Streamlabs? No idea how you actually focus it. Maybe it goes fixed focus in Streamlabs. But there's a big crack running right down here and round here, and another one down here, and right round here. In fact, I think it was in 2 pieces there, or 3 pieces. This, and it goes round here, down here, and there's another crack that goes round the front here, down there. So I've got a ton of cracks in it. So it's rather cracked, shall we say. Right. Better plug this in if I'm going to continue with this, because where have I put the thing to plug this phone in? Bear with me one moment. I'm looking for a USB cable so I can plug this phone in. Oh, I think it's down there. Just a second. Then it'll whinge it's getting hot then, because that's what it does. There we go, we're plugged in now. So yeah, so that is basically it. That is the the 232, or one of the 232s, one of the two 232s that I've got here. And if you want to see what a frozen computer looks like, there is the frozen computer, and you can see better now sort of how the thing looks to me when I'm looking at it. But as you can see, there it is, frozen, absolutely solid. So I can now reboot that, and it'll come back up into Windows. Hopefully, no, not Windows. If it comes back up into Windows, it will be very, very bad indeed. It will come back up into Linux Mint. Right, I think that is about as far as we go for today. Thanks to everybody for watching once again. Sorry about the technical issues that we've had today. Like I say, YouTube is making it more and more difficult to make this show happen. So if anybody knows of any alternatives, particularly for the live stream, I would love to hear from you, because it's just getting harder and harder to do at the moment. They stopped doing mobile live streams many months ago, maybe about a year ago now. That's why we now have to go via Streamlabs. If you look in the bottom corner down here somewhere, I think you'll see it says Streamlabs. That's because you can't stream from mobile, but you can stream from mobile to Streamlabs, and then Streamlabs somehow get it onto YouTube. I don't quite know how that works. That's quite impressive how Streamlabs does that. So yeah, it's difficult. Dominic says one thing is that one of the special screws don't quite secure the bell set to the draw base properly, but it's fine if you pick it up from the bottom. Has it got the special screws in the bell set that hold it on? Because the bell set needs to have special screws to attach it to the phone, doesn't it? If you're doubling it up, you know, if you make it into what they call a king pyramid. Dominic says he'll send a photo of the 232 and bell set 26 once it's restored. Excellent. Yeah. Carry on. Is it a black one? I assume it's a black one. Most of them are black ones, generally. Although this phone is charging, the actual amount of charge on the phone is still going down. How does that work? Right, my computer is now rebooting, but of course it'll not let me stream from it, because I've not opened the silly window on YouTube. So I think that is about as far as we go for today. Thanks to everybody for watching. We'll be back around about the same time, same place next week, all being well. And will I have got my computer issues fixed? Will my freezing computer stopped freezing? I'll tell you something, we've altered the clocks here now, and it turned rather cool this evening, so I think next week maybe the only thing that will be freezing will be me. But that's another story. It does actually say poor connection on this. Why is it poor connection? It's got like 3 bars of 4G, and it still says poor connection. How ridiculous is that? Right, so yeah, that's about as far as we go for this week. Paul says, are you any closer to the restoration of Diacon, Andy? I've not really done a lot more towards it, Paul. I'm still looking at it. Apparently there are chemicals that will sort of melt it in the same way that that acetone melts ABS. The problem with with melting Diacon is the chemicals that melt it are quite nasty. So I'm looking if there are any other options to do it. I was watching Adam Savage's Tested channel on YouTube the other day, and he was doing something where he got a bit of perspex, and he did what he called flame polishing on it, where he got a bit of cut perspex, and then to make the edge that he cut shiny again, he basically waved a cigarette lighter against it or something to that effect, and that sort of flame polished it. So I'm wondering if you can sort of stick it back together somehow and then polish it with heat. So I'm wondering if heat might be the key. If you might be able to adapt a soldering iron or something to actually just sort of melt it and stick it back together that way, rather than doing it with chemicals. Do it with heat. So I'm working on it. I am working on it. But time has been a bit of an issue just recently. For some reason, it's just got really busy over the last few weeks or so. The problem with this Streamlabs thing is the chat comes up over your face. You can't see yourself because the chat comes right up the screen, right over you. So yeah, so we're working on the Diacon. Stick with it, Paul. We're working on it. In the meantime, we'll be back next week, around about same time, same place as usual, for another episode, which will be episode 38. And we'll be going up to episode 39, maybe 40ish, and then I think there'll be a couple of weeks break again at that stage. But oh yeah, my computer has now come back to life. Would you like to see that it's come to life? How do I get that up? That's it. Yeah, computer's now come back to life, as you can see. And if you want to then have a look at sound and video, OBS Studio. And when it whirs into gear, you can then see OBS Studio there. There's me with my phone, and if I start streaming from that, I'm pretty sure it'll not start, but it'll say it has. Right, there it is, look, and it says it started streaming because you've got this little green thing down at the bottom here. Down here, that little green thing, and it says it's streaming, but it's not, because if I go into this stupid YouTube studio, if I can get into it, wait for Firefox to appear. See, this annoys me as well with Google at the minute. Does anybody notice when you go to the Google homepage, this thing has started appearing on your screen? This stupid little box. You know, that's started appearing last couple of weeks. So you get YouTube. Oh. You see, and you can see how slow and poor my internet is and stuff. And okay, the ad blocker will be making it a little bit slower, but I'll pay that price to get rid of all those ads. And then you sign into YouTube. And I've got to remember how to do it. I can't do this one-handed. I'll have to put the phone down or something in a minute, just to say. Right, so signing in now. YouTube. You should see that. And you see how rubbish YouTube is and how slow it is and how much resource it uses. And then you have to go up here and you have to click this, and then you have to go to YouTube Studio. Then it has to load another page of nonsense. Which you have to wait an hour for. Right. Then you have to click go live here. See, this is why I wasn't on till 6:30 last week. Then you get this, and this is the page that causes all the problems. They say a web page is slowing down your browser. Yes, it is. It's this one. It's the only one that's open. Thanks, YouTube. You see, and it says it's not streaming, even though if I show you an OBS, definitely is blooming streaming because of that green thing down there. Look, you see. So it definitely is streaming, guys. So why, oh why, oh why? Are we not getting this? What's all that that's come up on the screen? Can you guys see all that that's come up on this screen? So yeah, there it is. Oh, and it's now saying that that is streaming. YouTube is not receiving enough video. Right, that's interesting. So what's streaming now? What is actually going out now? Interesting. I don't know. Right, so we can stop that now. That's that. Now, right then, I think whichever one I'm on now, because I don't know if I'm on this or on that now, because it's put two streams up together now. Whichever one I'm on now, I think that that's about it for this week. As you can see, there's loads and loads of nonsense that I've got to sort out with YouTube, and that it's causing so many issues at the moment. It really is. So I have got to sort all that out. While I do, please just bear with us. If you know of any other platforms that we can stream on, I mean, no Twitch has been mentioned already, please do look from me. For now, until next week, have a great week ahead, everybody, and well, keep restoring those telephones, and hopefully next week I'll see you soon. Bye for now.